Can all join palms? And repeat after me. I take refuge in the Buddha.
I take refuge in the Buddha.
I take refuge in the Dharma.
I take refuge in the Dharma.
I take refuge in the Sangha.
I take refuge in the Sangha.
Keeping the palms joined. Put the palms down. All right. Good evening, everybody. Nice to see you all. Thank you for showing up. This practice, you look at Buddhist teachings, he was a pretty simple guy. And often I think what gets lost in this practice is we focus on loving kindness and compassion and doing good things for others, taking care of others. But very often those who end up kind of gravitating toward this practice and path have a really difficult time having loving kindness and compassion towards themselves. And for many people who end up learning about meditation and Buddhist practice, that's part of why they struggle to begin with, is there's a lack of kindness, compassion, forgiveness, understanding, even respect for oneself. And yes, I get it for all you geeky, Buddhist people, non-self, blah, blah, blah. That self is there. We're all stuck and attached to it. We all have a story about ourselves that we've been telling ourselves our whole life. And that story changes a bit. But most people, and I've been around this stuff a long time, that have their lives really impacted by this practice do so because they've told themselves a story about themselves that wasn't so pleasant for a long time. And this practice, I think, really begins when you can hold up a mirror and just reflect back on yourself and recognize that you're just human, doing your best, done some good, done some bad, been kind to people and unkind to people, made a lot of wise choices and not so wise choices, right? That's how I ended up sitting here. So at the end of the day, can you come back to recognizing that it really begins with having love and compassion and kindness and respect for yourself? And if you can have that for yourself, then you can begin to genuinely, authentically share that with others. And for a lot of people, that is really difficult because many people have never had that for themselves. And so they start by sharing love and kindness and compassion towards others. And that is a beautiful way to do it. And in the process of helping others, how do you feel? Good. And when you feel good about yourself, maybe you'll tell yourself less miserable stories about yourself. So this practice of sharing compassion and kindness with others really ends up benefiting those involved that you're helping and yourself. And I get it. I mean, I get it as much as I can as, a very privileged guy sitting here. The world's a mess. People are living in tremendous fear. There's a lot of hatred and anger going around. Always has been and sadly will be for quite a while. But this practice is making sure that you take care of yourself during all of that. So you can show up for other people. You can be there to support people. And I talked about this a lot on Saturday, but with so many things going on just globally around just everywhere, very often what gets lost is this very real just reality that there are people 5 minutes from here that need your help, that you can help. And so as we sit here trying to look at all the stuff in the world that is horrific and dangerous and unsafe and just terrible, and often feeling helpless, which is a feeling that a lot of people sit with, and then feeling guilt and shame because they feel like they should be doing more. 5 minutes from here, there's 10,000 people sleeping on the streets that need help. So to those people, it makes a difference. And so as you're sitting there throughout your day, scrolling for 3 hours on social media, being filled with hatred and anger and rage, and talking about how terrible everybody is, don't be afraid to take a break, go outside and help some people in any way you can. That will make you feel better, even if just for a moment. And it's definitely going to help the people who are receiving that act. So simplify this stuff. It doesn't have to be complicated. And last thing I'll say before we start with meditation, Buddhist practice, it's not about changing other people. It's not about what others are doing. It doesn't mean what others are doing is not important. It is, absolutely. What others are doing has a huge impact on us and the communities that we live in, the societies that we have built. But this practice is about you. So you can be kind and gentle and caring and solid and strong and fearless. So you can go into the community and actually make a positive difference in somebody's life. So use this practice to help you. So with that, we'll start with a meditation practice. To those who are joining virtually, welcome. Glad you're here. Thank you for showing up. Feel free to say hello as you are. There's a chat box on your screen somewhere. A couple things I'll tell you before we begin, especially for those who might be new. Nothing's going to happen to you. You're not going to float away. You're not going to have any mystical, magical experiences. The mind that races all day long is not going to shut off. Don't judge your practice. You don't ask yourself, is this working or not working? Are you doing it right or wrong? We're just going to sit. We're going to breathe. You'll hear sounds inside, sounds outside. This is life. Life is filled with chaos. And this practice is learning to get quiet and still within all the chaos. Posture, you just want to be comfortable. If you're on a cushion, often it helps. Slide into the front third, pushing the stomach forward, allows the back to straighten. If you're on a bench or chair, however you're seated, just trying to sit up straight, relaxing the shoulders. Most important, especially for those who are new, you're not going to shut your mind off. It will not go blank. You will not think nothing. Your mind will continue to race. I'll say things periodically to remind you that you're lost in thought and bring you back to present moment, or to wake you up because you've fallen asleep, which isn't the end of the world. I'll guide us as we begin, and we'll settle into a little bit of silence. And starting with the eyes closed, if comfortable, or slightly open. Mouth is open or closed. We'll start with taking 3 deep breaths slowly. And eventually, settle into a natural rhythm of the breath. Noticing the mind as it wanders, jumping from thought to thought. Start with gently guiding the attention, focus to the stomach or chest. Breathing in, feel them rise. Breathing out, they fall. Simply continue this practice, observing sensation of breath. Expecting nothing but to sit and breathe. And as the mind wanders, lost in thought, recognize it. Release that thought. Return attention, focus to the breath. Learning to be comfortable in stillness, in quiet, just sitting, breathing. Letting go of expectations. Letting go of judgments from the practice. Just sitting, breathing. And with the body still, rested, and the speech quiet, aware of all sounds, and the mind learning to settle. Know what it's like to just sit and breathe. Knowing with each breath, there's nothing else to do. Nowhere else to go. And no one else to be. Everything beautiful, exactly as it is. Sitting, breathing. And once again, taking 3 deep breaths slowly. And as you slowly open the eyes, slowly beginning to move. And most important, with the practice of meditation, is to recognize how you feel now, immediately after, compare this to how you typically feel throughout your day. Recognize the difference, if there is one. And ask yourselves how you'd prefer to feel every day for the rest of your life. And realize every feel now, if it's quiet, calm, and still, or a busy mind, racing mind, whatever you're sitting with at this moment, has nothing to do with anything I said, has nothing to do with how you sit and hold the hands or cross the legs. It's nothing to do with the Buddhist statue or sounds around us or anything else for that matter. It has everything to do with your own mind and your own mind's reaction to an external situation. This is what the Buddha called pratitya samuppada, means dependent origination. This is the basis of the Buddha's awakening. The word Buddha simply means awakened. He was a human being, no different than any one of us, who began to understand why we suffer. He began to understand the causal relationship of all phenomena. Meaning, very simply, every day of our lives, things happen and we react. More stuff happens, more reactions. That's it. This practice is simply learning what it's like to respond to something quietly, peacefully, still. Because for most of us, the way you responded to the last 20 minutes is quite different from how you respond to every other 20-minute period of your day. And so all we're working on is closing the gap to where the way you feel now is closer to how you feel always. Just as driven motivated, productive, successful, whatever that means to you in your respective lives. But with a mind that's steady, clear, focused, distracted by nothing, disturbed by no one. This is not an easy practice. It's not necessarily fun. It's not an escape, as often people think it is. It is direct perception into the present moment. And present moment is filled with conflict, chaos, difficulties, challenges. This is life. This is learning to be with life as it arises. Meditation is free. Buddhist practice is free. It's just sitting, breathing, becoming aware of what you think, what you say, and what you do in each moment. We spend so much time trying to fix, change, control, manipulate those outside of us. And as I said earlier, what those outside of us do is important. But this practice is learning to take care of our responses, our reactions. And if we can take care of ourselves, then we have a better chance of getting through each day, being a little happier, a little more at peace. And if we can do that, we make wiser decisions, stop doing dumb stuff, and maybe we can all just stop showing up here. You know, could have been sitting home watching TV right now. So for me, I always really prefer to respond to questions, meditation, Buddhist practice, anything you're sitting with. And we'll use the rest of our brief time this evening for questions. And for those, again, joining virtually, welcome. Glad you're here. Thanks for showing up. Feel free, say hello, or put any questions in the chat box. I'll do my best to respond. So we'll open up to questions.
Recently, I've been practicing a lot of meditation a little bit more, especially like recovery Dharma. I've noticed why I tend to struggle the most is when I like guided meditation and stuff like that as well.
Yeah.
Guided meditation. Music's fine. I mean, silence is fine. But the moment I hear people speak, I'm immediately trying to analyze what's being said.
Yeah.
Something that I should try to fight or embrace.
Yeah, so the question to those who didn't hear it in the back potentially is that, you know, he's been practicing meditation a little more recently, and silence is okay, music's okay, but guided meditations, and I'll touch on this in a minute, as soon as you hear people guiding you, then you start to kind of analyze and figure out what they're trying to say. So your question is, you know, what do you do with all that? So first and foremost, very briefly, you know, if 1,000 people lead you, meditations are going to lead you 1,000 different ways. None of them necessarily right or wrong or good or bad. If somebody tells you this is the way and the only way to meditate and then wants a bunch of money from you, you should probably leave and go elsewhere, right? But there's all kinds of meditation practices. And so I'm a big fan of having people find a practice that works for you. Some people love silence, right? But when you're sitting in silence for 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, what are you left with? Yourself. And what are you often trying to run away from? What causes you so much misery? Yourself. So silence for many people is incredibly painful, right? I spent 20 plus years working with people, military, active, veterans, prison population, tremendous PTSD, traumatic brain injuries, and silence can be painful. 30 seconds of silence is hell, can be, right? So most important is to find a practice that works for you. And so for you, with the question around guided meditations, you know, kind of not hitting you so well, yeah, work with that. You know, I mean, based on the way you asked it, it's almost like, so they're guiding you. I don't like guided meditations. I'm not a fan, right? For me, I needed to learn to sit down, shut up, and deal with this thing. And guided meditations, like, I don't want to be told that I'm like going down some peaceful river, you know, and I'm going to feel the earth through my feet and like, look at all the flowers and the bells and the whistles, you know, like I just grew up way too mean for that shit. Really, you know? And I just think it's figuring out what works for you and what doesn't. But I will say that, like, if you're in a guided meditation once in a while and all of a sudden you're just sitting there trying to figure out what they're doing, like, yeah, that's kind of back on you of like, okay, that's a thought just like any other thoughts that fly through your head. Reality is they're probably just trying to lead you in meditation. They're not trying to like do something to you. You know what I mean? But there's a lot of weird stuff out there. So you do want to be careful. I'm serious. Welcome to California, 2026 with meditation. There's a lot of weird stuff out there. And if you're into that weird stuff, maybe it's not weird to you. It might just seem weird to me. So everybody's different. Be safe, be healthy. But it sounds like you're just getting kind of annoyed listening to somebody talk. And that just might come back to you, which is maybe you just don't like listening to people. People have problems with authority. People don't like following rules. People get in trouble a lot. Again, I get it. And so maybe you need to sit in more guided meditations. Yeah. What else? Yeah. I just see a hand. Yeah. What's up, man?
Just a couple weeks ago, I was here with Justin, and he's like, "Do you ever go home and read about Buddhism?" He was like, "Never."
Yeah.
This is pretty good for me. Like, I think if I go beyond this, it gets too complicated and
Yeah.
lost in the weeds. But something you said once, like, really opened up my brain to something. And usually when I ask you questions about something personal, this is actually about Buddhism.
Sure.
And it's, I think you said that, like, what karma is, it's just, karma is what you do.
Right.
But so is it a Western concept that karma, that like what you give is what you get?
Yeah.
Is that more of a Western thing?
Yeah, definitely. It's one of, for me, as I always say, one of the most, I think, misinterpreted, misunderstood, mistranslated teachings. The word karma literally means action. And so in our culture, we tend to say what goes around comes around, right? That's not karma. That's a very selfish view of karma. There was a little comic strip I saw years ago, or just a comic sketch. And it was a person sitting in the middle, and there were like these big kind of Stonehenge type, around him in a, it's like in a circle. And he's pushing it this way. So everything's like domino style falling, and it's going to come back on him. And underneath it, it says karma. But that makes it seem as if everything is about us, right? So literally karma being action is, as you said, it's what we do, but it's what we think, what we say, and what we do. So imagine you're playing pool, right? You ever play pool? You got the cue ball sitting there, right? The white ball, every time you break, that cue ball goes into the rack. Every other ball. Every time that cue ball hits every other ball, every ball goes into a different direction. So our entire lives, we are that cue ball. Every person, place, and thing we encounter, we leave an imprint on. We have an interaction with. Our thoughts very often become words. Our words very often become actions. So this idea of understanding that every person we interact with, every place we go to, everything we're taking care of, there's the law of cause and effect. Karma, if nothing else, is definitely you could look at it as the law of cause and effect, right? Which isn't about what goes around comes around. So I could get up and punch you, right? I won't, because you'd beat me up and it would be bad, right? But when I do that to you, you got a couple choices, right? You could hit me back, you could leave, you got a lot of things you could do, right? Now, if I come at you in an aggressive way, I'm kind of increasing the odds of some aggression going on, right? But if I come up and said, hey, just giving you a hug, chances are less aggression. But that also, giving you a hug, might also not work well for you. So we never know what we're bringing into a situation, how it's going to be met with, how it's going to be, how people are going to respond to it. But all we can control, and that's why this expression of being mindful of your karma, what it means is be mindful, aware, careful, because your words, your thoughts, your actions, your physical actions have an effect. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But very simply, this kind of goes around, comes around. Just think about it. You ever done something really bad and had something good happen? You ever done something really good and had something bad happen? So it's not this like do good, good happens, do bad, bad happens. It doesn't work that way. So that's, to me, really where that misinterpretation, misunderstanding of karma is.
It was a great eye opener for me because I was always raised to be like, oh, you do good things and good things happen to you. And
Right.
For me, as an adult, like, it was only a few months ago that I heard you say that, and I realized, like, oh no, you do good, and who knows if it's gonna,
Period.
who knows
Exactly.
what's gonna happen. It's better if you just do good because it's just the right thing, not if you're expecting to get something in return.
100%. And that's the comment on that in Buddhism, we call that non-attachment, which is you're doing good simply for the sake of doing good, not attaching to what comes from it. Now, you do good and something bad happens to you, or someone does something bad back to you, you just keep doing good. Right? That's the practice. Now, it doesn't mean we have to stay in unhealthy, toxic, dangerous situations at all. No, definitely not. Keep ourselves, safe and protected. It doesn't mean you do good things and, it's met with resistance or whatever, and you just keep taking that, right? Keep yourself safe and healthy, always. But yeah, it's exactly what you just said. You do good without the expectation of anything coming back to you,
And it's so weird that I had that exact question. So thank you for asking.
Yeah.
Question. I was thinking about it from a couple weeks ago, but then I was wondering, how does that play into when you're reincarnated? And I know a lot of practices feel that when you're reincarnated and you have an issue, it's from your past life. It is like karma from your past life. It's almost like.
But you're considering karma as things you deserve.
Well, I don't want to think of it that way,
but that, based on what you just said,
yeah.
That's what you're doing. So karma is not what we deserve. It's just what happens. Karma is not what we deserve. It's just what happens. Karma is not about morals, right or wrong, good or bad, and obviously don't do bad, right? Have a moral, ethical conduct behavior. That's the heart of Buddhist practice. But karma is removing all of the judgments and labels from our actions. And so this whole reincarnation, rebirth, forget about that for a minute, right? I mean, show of hands in here. How many of you are Buddhist? 0 hands. 1 not sure. It's always that way. It's always like 1 and 1 is not sure. Nobody here is Buddhist, right? And for the most part, my guess is just about everybody here was not raised with the belief of rebirth or reincarnation or continuation of consciousness. At the time of the Buddha, let me just put this into context before I address this. At the time of the Buddha, 500 years before Christ, everybody in India at the time believed in a rebirth or reincarnation or continuation of consciousness, whatever you want, however you want to refer to it, right? If you went up to somebody, and this is again 500 years before Christ, if you went up to somebody in India at that time, or even in India today, and tell them you got one life and then you're going to heaven or hell, they would have thought you were kind of crazy. Now, fast forward to today's day, and you go up to somebody in San Diego and be like, "Yo, you're going to be reborn as something." They're going to think you're on something, right? So it's just when the Buddha was teaching, he was teaching at a very different time in a different context to a different group of people, and they all thought that there was a continuation. Now, I think most important for, again, probably 99.9% of the people in this room, I'm just guessing, that don't believe in rebirth or reincarnation or continuation of consciousness. Maybe they don't know what's going on, but most people who show up here do not think they're going to be reborn as something, right? So my suggestion always, forget about rebirth, reincarnation, next life, past life. Just think about today to tomorrow. That's it. Because even if somebody does want to take rebirth and to practice meditation, Buddhist practice has nothing to do with rebirth or reincarnation. Like, you can toss that out the window. I only talk about it when people ask about it. Otherwise, it's just, for the most part, meaningless because it's just going to confuse you. Don't be so concerned about a rebirth. Be concerned about, are you going to be nice tomorrow or mean tomorrow? Are you going to be kind tomorrow or unkind tomorrow? How you treat people tomorrow, including yourself, is going to be based on what? It's going to be based on what?
What I do today.
What you do today and what you've done every moment up to this point. So forget about the whole rebirth thing. That's just meaningless. We are reborn every moment, meaning every moment is new. So if we want to be kind and gentle and happy tomorrow, the only way that's going to happen is by being mindful, karmically, taking care of what you're doing today. And looking at the course of your life and realize that if you've gone through tremendous pain and suffering and trauma and death and abuse and loss for 20 years, it's going to be really hard to wake up tomorrow and just all of a sudden snap and be happy. Just because you set your mind today to be happy doesn't mean you're going to be happy tomorrow. If you've gone through 20 years of hell or whatever it is, it's not so simple. So this is not an easy thing. This is not an easy practice. But everything we experience in each moment is conditioned on the previous moments. And I think that's a way healthier, much more beneficial practice. And all of that as well has nothing to do with what you deserve or don't deserve. It's not about deserving. It's about what we think, what we say, and what we do. Yeah.
So we're just separating the Western. So I mean, if you were a Buddhist and you believed in reincarnation, where would karma fall for that? It doesn't matter.
Everything I just said applies to all of that. It's just moment to moment to moment. So,
Okay.
Monastery life, 22 years ago, whatever it was, monk in Taiwan taught life and death studies. He said the mistake that people make is they start thinking, I've got this life and the past life and the future life. Technical Buddhist teachings, alive is not a storehouse consciousness. Ultimately, to your question, from a very technical Buddhist term, your mistake in asking this, and I'm only saying this because I've known her like 15 years, so I don't feel like she's going to hate me any more than she already does, right? But you know what I mean? I'm just being very direct. I'm just putting that in context for everybody here. The mistake you're making is that you're thinking that this life, you as Chris, is different from some past life, which is different from some future life. Ultimately, Buddhist teachings is saying, no, the mistake that you're making is you're looking at this form body and thinking this is your life, and that the last, whatever was that last one, it's one continuation. The body comes together for a period of time and then will cease to exist. The consciousness is endless. But you're looking at it from the lens of, I am Chris, this is my life, what was past life, what is future life? Which is why I'm suggesting abandon that view, because that's keeping you stuck. Take the view of, what is each moment going to be like? Because ultimately, to your question, for one who did believe in rebirth, it's the same thing. What is the next moment going to be like? Take care of each moment. That's it. And the only way we start that is now. Right now, begin to become aware. If you think angry, miserable, pissed off thoughts all day long, how are you going to act? Angry, pissed off, and miserable. It's how I spend a majority of my life. It's not fun. But if you begin to think kind, gentle, peaceful, happy thoughts, then you're more likely to have kind, gentle, peaceful actions. And if you do that, maybe you'll feel better. Yeah. The whole concept of rebirth just, I think, really confuses people. Yeah. What else? Yeah, record.
You kind of answered it, what you just said a little bit, but how have you accepted what's happened in the past?
Yeah. Yeah. So the question, virtually those who didn't hear it, how have you, are you talking about me personally?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how have I accepted what I've done in the past? Hey, now, easy. Y'all don't even know what I've done yet, and you're already laughing. No, seriously, I think that, you know, without getting into the whole, you know, my whole journey, like the simplest way, first and foremost, to understand how I've accepted what I've done in the past, first and foremost, is understand that any pain that I caused anybody else, accepting of that and forgiving myself does not make anything I've done okay. And people get confused on this often with themselves or others. But having forgiveness towards self or others, loving self and others for things that we have done that caused harm or others have done and caused harm, doesn't excuse nor make what they did okay. Meaning things I did in the past are not okay. But I had two choices. I could continue to hate myself. And if I hate myself, what is that cycle going to be like? It's just going to continue. Or if I could forgive myself for the things I've done, vow to not do them again, and continue to cultivate loving kindness and compassion and treat myself and others better, then maybe I have a chance of not spending my life doing all the stuff I had done. So it really was a simple choice of continue to stay miserable, angry, and depressed, or switch. And that was it. But again, it's not easy. it's a daily practice, and looking back on it, it really is just like, it's just like, I look back on things I did when I was younger and the way I treated people, and I'm like, who was that person? And that was this dude, but it's still mind blowing to me. But I had to forgive myself. I had to apologize where it was appropriate, or apologize genuinely, to others for, 20 years ago, hurt somebody. They don't want to hear from me, probably, potentially. But actually, really 35 years ago. Forget how old I'm getting, but the practice of learning to forgive and love yourself is where it begins. Kind of what I talked about earlier a little bit, because otherwise you're just going to continue to stay in the cycle of hatred and anger and violence and rage. And, we're just human. We make mistakes. And I think it's important that we learn to forgive ourselves and others. It's really important. Yeah. I don't know if that answers your question, but good for now. Yeah. What else? Yeah.
How would we separate forgiving yourself versus all the shit I've done is not okay?
How do you separate it?
Yeah, because
What do you mean by that part? Yeah.
When, I guess, Western beliefs, we talk about forgiving ourselves as in sins are forgiven.
Mm-hmm.
But what you're saying is very different, and it makes a
Yeah.
lot of sense,
Yeah.
but it's also not easy to figure out.
Totally. Yeah. So I appreciate adding that part. Again, it kind of that same, it might repeat part of what I just said, but that idea of like, yes, if we've, forgive the whole sin forgiveness thing, almost as if it's like washed away. Right. But if I've harmed somebody and I forgive myself for what I've done, and whether they forgive me or not is up to them. But let's just say in this case, they also forgive me. That still doesn't take away what pain was caused. They really are separate things. And maybe it's just based on the way you asked that question, so ingrained in you to think that it's impossible to forgive yourself or have someone else forgive you for pain that you have caused, and know that that pain is still there.
Yeah, it's difficult.
It is. I mean, yes. As I always say, Buddhism doesn't solve things. I mean, he was just a dude. He said, here, try living a simple, peaceful, kind life and see if it works for you, right? In essence, that's what he taught for 45 years before he died. Now, it doesn't solve things. It doesn't answer your problems. It doesn't help you with your guilt and shame. It actually makes you see it. And that sucks. Right? I mean, if we honestly look at the pain that we've caused other people, that sucks. We should feel that. We should not have that just washed away, in my opinion, from Buddhist teachings. I don't want that just washed away and wiped away. And this isn't about other religious views. This is about understanding that if I've caused harm towards others, I don't want that just wiped clean, because then what am I going to do? Same thing. Right? You ever had somebody forgive you and you're like, cool, I'm free now. Now I can go do the same stupid thing again. Maybe not you personally, but So again, it really is a separate thing. Forgiving yourself, being forgiven by others. My master used to always say, when you do things that harm people, 3 things. Recognize what you did was not in line with the teachings of loving kindness, compassion, generosity, morality, all the kind of basic Buddhist teachings. Second, apologize genuinely to the person if it's relevant. If it's somebody from 30 years ago, like I said, they probably don't want to hear from you. So turn to a friend, a loved one, and apologize very genuinely. Turn to a friend and say, well, I'm really sorry for what I did to that person 30 years ago. Genuinely own that apology and feel that. And lastly, vow to not do it again. And this is where that vow to not do it again is really important, because what it's saying is, I'm going to forgive myself. I hope they forgive me, but I'm not going to dismiss the pain that was caused. It's not a free pass. So feeling that guilt, feeling that shame, feeling that remorse is the fuel that we use to say, I'm going to stop doing this stupid thing. I'm going to stop harming other people. I'm going to stop harming myself, because we've all had people hurt us, I would imagine, to some degree. It doesn't feel good. So why would we do that to others? And if I didn't actually sit and feel that pain, you'd keep doing it. I'd keep doing it. And it's still, I mean, it's a daily practice. This stuff, no, it's not like read page, I know you're not asking this, but it's not like read page 17 of the, this sutra and you're good to go. No, it is a mirror reflecting back on the things we've done. And you can't go back. That's the thing.
So what you're saying is that's what karma truly is.
What do you mean by that?
If you feel the pain and you change your action.
Well, feeling the pain is
Of what you've done.
Of what you've done.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I still think you're trying to assign like a heavier meaning to the word karma.
No, actually, I think about it a lot.
Okay.
Because I think it's interesting that karma is your action.
Yes. Yes.
And if bad things happen, well, bad things happen. But if you try to do good, at least you're trying to.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, it sounds so simple, like just try to do good, like it's some deep, esoteric, ancient, Indian teaching or something. But that's in essence what he was teaching. Try to do good, real simply. And for the most part, it's what every religious leader is teaching. Every religion is teaching. Try to do good. That's the heart of most religions. It really is. Yeah. And the other thing is, I think, having that continuous hatred towards self for things you've done doesn't help. That also doesn't take away the pain that anyone is feeling. So I think one of the best things we can do is do our best to not cause more pain. And that's really hard. What else? Yeah.
One of the precepts is do not kill
Yeah.
animals. And how do you put that in perspective with our diet and omnivores in this
Yeah.
country specifically?
Yeah. So your question specifically, the way you worded it, and let me just go off of that, was you said one of the precepts is do not kill animals. That is not one of the precepts. Okay. But you see how you spun that?
Right.
So the precept specifically that you're referring to isn't even do not kill. It is cause no harm. Ultimately gets you to the same place, but I want to just highlight how you went from here to there, right? So the practice of causing no harm is really important to understand that when we move through our day, we have opportunities to cause harm or not cause harm. You have choices every day of what you consume. Not just food, but, emotionally, physically, mentally, right? Social media. We're constantly consuming. So look at the things we're consuming, and in that process of consuming, are you contributing to causing harm or not? Right? A lot of people think that the Buddha was vegetarian. He wasn't. He ate, when they went begging for alms, I don't know if you heard me say this, but when they went begging for alms every day, one meal, they'd put their head down, the group of the monks, they'd go door to door, so to speak. They'd put their head down, bowl up, and food got put in it. And then they would come together and they would sit down and they would split it up and they would eat their one meal a day. And if there was any sort of animal product, put in their food, meat, fish, whatever it was, he said there were three conditions. If they didn't see it be killed, if they didn't hear it be killed, and if it wasn't killed specifically for them, they would receive the offering and eat it, right? Now, if one is concerned about that, then you can look at that scenario is very different than us like roaming through Vons, and picking and choosing. So we're very good at spinning and justifying things. I think that for me, the practice of all the precepts is just to ask yourself, are you contributing to causing harm? And if that's important to you in any way, not just around food, but in any way, what can you do as an individual, if it's important to you, to minimize that? You know, I think that's most important. How does that, what choices can you make to cause less harm? And if we explore that, we'll usually come up with some answers, you know? Yeah, go ahead.
So, like if you're going through a hard time, like you do like 6 hours of college homework or something, and you like really don't want to like do it or something, could you use like meditation to like go like how would you use it to like get through daily stuff?
Yeah.
On a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. Quick show of hands. Anyone in this room going through a hard time? Okay. First and foremost, that's why most people are here, going through a hard time, whether it's college, work, or anything else. Your whole life, I hate to break it to you, right? I hate to go to this right away. The first thing the Buddha taught, right? You brand new to Buddhist teachings for the most part, newer? Yeah. So the first thing he taught, which you've heard, is life is filled with what? Suffering. Dude wasn't lying, right? We're going to experience discomfort, angst, dissatisfaction, a hard time our whole life. Okay? This is just the reality. We're also going to experience tremendous joy, happiness, wonderful moments, excitement, you know. So it's going to be a range of emotions, but we're going to face difficult times throughout our life. And I'll get back to your question. And so what you're experiencing is that first noble truth, which is the suffering, discomfort, angst, dissatisfaction. And what he taught to overcome that, the second noble truth, the cause of that is greed, anger, and ignorance, right? So what he taught to overcome that is generosity, compassion, and wisdom. That's how we overcome discomfort, angst, having a hard time. So your question specifically is, how can you use meditation, or will meditation help you with that, right? Now, a couple things. Meditation obviously is not going to get your homework done, right? You got 6 hours of homework. Meditation isn't going to change that. You still got 6 hours of homework. But look at generosity, compassion, and wisdom, the practice of giving. Can you give yourself 5 minutes of sitting and breathing and allowing your entire nervous system to calm down? Can you give yourself 10 minutes, right? And allow yourself to calm down. So give yourself a settled, quiet time to prepare for the 6 hours of homework, right? And I'll close with this thought, I think. Second thing, right? Anger. My guess is you're not that happy about having 6 hours of homework, right? No, most people are not, right? So can you have compassion for yourself? And this also kind of ties into wisdom, but man, how beautiful is it that you're in school? You have an opportunity to study, to learn. That's a really good thing. So you got one view which says, this sucks, I got 6 hours of homework. The other view is, man, I have an opportunity to study for 6 hours and learn and do well and succeed and get through school, right? I mean, why are you going to school?
That was just an example.
Oh, are you in school? Oh, you're killing me, man.
My life example is a driver's license, and I really want to study that.
All right.
But
Same thing, right? So same thing, even more so. I'll close them with this. Driver's license. Why are you getting your driver's license? Did you have a driver's license before? Never. Okay, so what an incredible opportunity to actually get some independence, get a driver's license, and take care of yourself. Can you be grateful for that? Yeah. You're probably kind of nervous too then. Yeah. So schoolwork, maybe less nerves. Driver's license like this, you know, that's probably more important to you because you want the independence. So use the meditation to slow down and breathe. Again, nervous system, calm down. Have compassion for yourself that says, you know what? This is an incredible opportunity. And be grateful for that. You have a chance to do it. And the last one, the wisdom says, you know what? Kind of going back to some earlier comments, but I'm going to study to the best of my ability. I might pass and I might fail the test. That's the reality of life. Yeah? Now, if you pass, beautiful. If you fail, you try again. It's not the end of the world. But if you're so wrapped up in fear and worry about whether or not you're going to pass or fail, then you're actually losing concentration and focus on what you need to be doing, which is just studying for the damn test. Right? So let yourself settle down, use the meditation, have compassion for yourself, be proud of yourself for being in the situation to do that, and be wise enough to know that it's going to turn out however it's going to turn out, and either way, you're going to be okay. You know? And I hope you pass, but if you fail, I'm sure somebody here will give you a ride. Don't worry. All right? All right, I'm going to close on that. We'll join palms. May the benefit of this practice be shared with all beings in all directions. May all beings be at peace. May all be free from suffering. All right, before you all head out, we have a few announcements. Dharma Bum host, thanks Hazel.
Hello. We opened the Dharma Bum Temple 19 years ago to introduce Buddhist practice to those who show up. Those who lead are not nuns, monks, gurus, or teachers, and are not looking for students. They're simply practitioners sharing their interpretation of the practice. Every night, we have different classes led by different people from various Buddhist traditions. We have a recovery sangha that meets several times a week for anyone with addiction, and our food redistribution program is every Thursday at 4:30 p.m. We have classes and programs every day, and everything we offer here is always free. We have silent meditation Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. and 12 p.m. The full schedule is on our website and also posted in the entryway above the shoe rack. We have a lending library. If you see a book you like, feel free to borrow it and then bring it back when you're done. Please straighten your seat or cushion before you head out. If a few people could stay to close much windows, that would be helpful. Thank you for being here. We wish you well and we'll see you all again.
Thanks, Hazel.